Good afternoon, class. Today we are meeting once again to complete Term 1, Economics Grade 11. Basically, we are going to work on our previous papers, which are just exam guidelines, or we can say examination answer series that we are going to revise on in order for us to understand and be able to prepare for these end of term examinations that we are going to write now. So without wasting any time, this is the latest paper that we are working on. As you can see, it's 2025, identifying that the paper is just so fresh and is quite relevant. It is quite necessary for us to ensure that we prepare and practice working on this one as an example. So without wasting any time, we are going to work on these questions that are here at any given time. Instructions are always important. Grade 11 students, you know very well that you can't start writing an exam or a test without reflecting on the instructions. So right now, I'm just going to show you uh, the content of the paper that we are going to be working on. As you can see, the paper is quite a bit long. However, we need to work all of it and ensure that it is completed so that we can confidently await for the final exam that you are writing term end of the term. So without wasting any time, I'm saying just be patient, follow up the paper, just see through what is it that you are going to work on. I'm sure that you will be able to enjoy and also see technical questions that arises from all the areas of syllabus coverage that we have worked on. So we have got question one, which says we are given various options. It's a multiple choice question, or section A, where question one is saying forest, mineral deposits or water that are used in nature and are necessary or useful for humans are called. This identifies that we need to look at forest, mineral deposit, water that are found in nature and are necessary or useful for humans are called. These are called we call this can be called, we can identify that as we are saying we can define them as uh as capital, or we can say it's capital. We say that that minerals, we get water, we get money from them. Forest, we have timber and so forth, and then we are saying these are useful for humans. Uh we call them that they can be called we can identify them as sorry as natural resources. We can identify them as, we can say, is natural resources that are quite useful to humans. We call them natural resources. And then goods which are used by the business to produce other goods are called we call these are called uh goods that are used by businesses to produce other goods. We call them intermediate goods. They are called intermediate goods that are used to produce other goods. We call them intermediate goods. And then the next question, we are saying we produce other goods from them, so we call them intermediate goods. And then we have got business that tends to specialize in producing products that yield the highest profits. We are saying the businesses that tend to specialize in producing products that yield the highest profits. These are called, these can also be called, we say that these can be called, these are called capital. We are saying they are called capitalism. It's called capitalism. Businesses that tend to specialize in producing products that yield the highest profits, we call that capitalism. That is capitalism. And then mixed economy, I think you remember that we said it's a controlled and free economy. We can define that as mixed economy. So answer is A. And then we have got number 4, raw materials. Raw materials and other inputs are used to produce goods and services in the what? The raw materials and other inputs are used to produce goods and services in the what? These are done in the secondary sector. Secondary sector, it does what? It does manufacturing. It does manufacturing. So manufacturing is conversion of raw materials into finished products, which can be either finished or semi-finished. So we have got the sectors of the economy. The raw materials are extracted from the primary sector. Tertiary sector, we say that this is a services. This is a services sector. It actually focuses on ancillary services, which we can give examples such as health, education, insurance, warehousing, and many other. We give them as examples of tertiary sector. It is a services sector. Of course, I'm sure that we are quite aware of that. So the answer is what is B, factor of production that creates wealth by using savings and borrowed money to buy capital and goods, to buy capital goods, thereby paying interest to their lenders. That is called entrepreneurs. We are saying entrepreneurs. We are saying entrepreneurs. It identifies factor of production that creates wealth by using savings and borrowed money. As an entrepreneur, you identify opportunity. As the opportunity is identified, capital is needed, which we are saying again is another factor of production. So what we are saying is that entrepreneurs, they create wealth through savings. Savings is the money that was put aside for future use, which business investors can use to start businesses, or else the money can be borrowed, which all of it identifies that the answer is what? It's B. And then we have got question 1.2. 1.2, it wants us to match, choose description from column B that matches an item in column A. We write only the answer next to the question number. So now, what needs to be done is that we are saying 1.2.1 are non-durable goods. We are saying goods that cannot last long. These are defined as goods that are non-durable, goods that can be used up at once. We can say non-durable goods. These can be defined as what? As D, goods which are used up at once. When you have them, you use them, and then they are finished. Central plant, we say that has to do with the government has full control over the resources and factors of production. It is actually controlled through the government. So the government is centralizing, it is controlling, it has got full hands on in terms of the resources and factors of production. So it is C, labor, which we say labor is actually, we can say this is to do with the human resources, personnel resources, mental and physical efforts of people that are used in the production of goods and services with the aim of getting remuneration. I'm sure if you can refer again to the circular flow model, we say that the interaction of participants in the economy and their remuneration. So labor, it encompasses or it entails education, skills, knowledge, which is mental and physical efforts of people that are used in the production of goods. People have to think, people have to use their skills, they have to use their expertise in order for them to get paid. That is E on 1.2.3. Capital goods. Capital goods, number 4, capital goods, we can say that we must know that we need to use them in production of other goods. We use them in order to produce something for profit. So what is happening is question 1.2.4, capital goods, we can say goods which the business buy in order to produce final goods. Goods which businesses can buy to produce final goods, which we can say it is what? It is capital goods, which is G. And then 1.24, gross domestic product. Gross domestic product. This also can be defined as, we are saying if you look on gross domestic product, it identifies total production or total value of all goods and services produced within the boundaries of a country for a given period. That is B. It identifies gross domestic product, total value of all goods and services that are produced within the borders of a country for over a given period of time. Normally it is over a year. And then gifts of nature. Number 6, gifts of nature. We can also look at natural resources, which we can think as to say gifts of nature. It can identify, we can say minerals, timber, air, and fish. These are natural resources. So it is what? It is A. Gifts of nature. It identifies natural resources, which we can actually see that those are the answers there. So I want us to understand that in terms of matching terms and statements, you need to be able to know the definition first, so then you can be able to give the best answer out of it. And then we give one concept for each of the following descriptions, and we write only the concept next to the question number. That is question 1.3. Goods that can be used over an extended period of time. These are defined as what? We say they are called durable goods. They are called durable goods, goods that can be used over an extended period of time. They are called durable goods. They are long lasting. They can be used again and again. They are strong. We can say that these are durable goods. And then our next question, an increase in the capital to accommodate an increasing labor force. An increase in capital in order to accommodate, in order to provision, in order to meet an increasing labor force. What do we call that? This is defined as what? This is called capital widening. Capital widening. It identifies that increase in capital in order to make provision for an increasing labor force. So therefore, we need to be able to cater for the labor force that is available. So in order for that to happen, we increase the capital. That is capital widening. The economic system that allocates the resources among various uses and establish the level of income of the different classes. We call that capital. We call that capitalism, or we can say market free. That is an economic system that allocates resources among various uses and establish the levels of income of the different classes. We call that capitalism. That we call capitalism, or we can say also market free economy. It can also be defined as market-free economy or capitalism. Resources are allocated according to their various uses, and then we give the income levels or class differences. And then a person who take initiative initiative in bring together the necessary factors of production to exploit opportunity. We define that before again. We said it's an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur identifies opportunity. He identifies opportunity, and then what he does is he brings factors of production. The factors of production are put into use in order to benefit from that opportunity. So it's an entrepreneur. And then name any two activities of primary sector. Name any two activities of primary sector. I'm sure if you can look at this, we have talked about sectors, economic sectors. It is exploitation of resources, extraction industry. So we can talk about fishing. We can talk about agriculture. We can talk about mining. We can talk about forestry. We can talk about, we can give, we can say quarrying. These are all examples. They are all examples of what? These are all examples of primary activities. These are activities that we can find in the primary sector: farming, agriculture, mining, forestry. We do have to mention but a few, which we say that they are all focusing on production or exploitation of natural resources. Why are intermediate goods not included in GDP? I had once mentioned this also as we did grade 10. Again, it's a question that is repeating itself, which is we say that it has to be done to avoid double counting, to avoid double to avoid double counting. Double counting cannot be done or can be avoided because the intermediate goods are still to be used, or there is value addition that continuously takes place in their production chain. So we avoid them in GDP because they can be counted several times since they are not yet produced. So we avoid double counting by excluding them in GDP figures. It's a table that is given here, which we need to use to say compensation of employees is given, net operating surplus, consumption, gross value added. All these are given here. And then questions that comes now, it says, uh, the questions that are there. First question says, uh, identify the method of determining GDP in the table that we are given here. We are saying that if you look on the table that we are having, we are given that these are we are given figures and monies that is there, which we say we have got taxes on production, we have got subsidies, gross domestic product at market prices. This is called income method. We say that is called income. It is called income method. This is called income method, and then complete the item represented by A in the table. The item that is represented by A on the table, the item that is represented by A on the table, if you can see here, gross value added at factor cost, which is given as that much, 2 million something 779,000, and then we have got taxes on production and subsidies. So A must give us a gross domestic product at basic prices. This must give us a gross domestic product at basic prices. At basic prices, that is a gross domestic product at the basic price. It identifies that a describe the term gross domestic product. I think you can see that it is quite easy for us to get distinction because certain questions are quite repetitive. So this actually gross domestic product, it identifies the value of all goods and services. Identifies the value of all goods and services that has been produced within the country, produced within a country, uh, especially in a period of time over a specific period of time. Normally we talk about 1 year, which we say it gives it time length enough to well check into changes in production and be able to give specific uh, dimensions and changes that have taken place. So we are saying total value of all goods and services produced within a country over a period of time, over a year, we call that GDP. It's an economic indicator. It helps us to see the level of economic development that is taking place within a country, and then explain the consumption on fixed capital. It is actually it is used in preference of generating new output. Consumption on fixed capital, uh it is used in preference of generating new output. So consumption on fixed capital, it is actually we are saying it is used when there is that opportunity of generating new output. We say that consumption on fixed capital, and then calculate GDP, gross domestic products at market prices labeled B. That is show all your working. We are saying calculate gross domestic product at market prices. That is given there. So now what we need to do is that we are saying in this case, uh, this must be calculated as we are supposed to add uh, our GDP at basic prices. We say GDP at basic prices plus taxation on products, which we also minus we minus our subsidies on products, and then that can give us a GDP at market prices. So this is cost to, let me say, GDP GDP at market prices. GDP at market prices is equals to, so I'm saying it is equals to GDP at basic price. This is equals to GDP at basic price plus taxation. We are saying it is plus taxation on products. Taxation on products, and then we minus subsidies on products. That is equals to, we continue now to say that that is equals to 2,820,000, 2,820,000, 262 plus taxation on products, 338,000, 804, and then we subtract subsidies on products minus 20,086. 20,086, and then that is equals to, we subtract this, we add and subtract that. That can give us 3,138,980, as to say that that is GDP at market prices. GDP at market prices is gonna be that GDP at basic price plus taxation on products, minus subsidies on products. So we are saying we add this one plus this minus this one, and then we get 3,138,980 is the final answer. That is calculating gross domestic products at market prices. I'm sure that we see that we are adding. We add these two, and then we subtract 20,086. Then it gives us the total market price that we want. Thank you. And then our next question is saying, start the graph and answer the questions that follow. We are given demand for natural resources. That is given there, which is S1 and D1. Demand and supply, that is given on this question. So we want to see, the question says, name an example of a non-renewable resource. Example of non-renewable resource. We are talking about resources that when they are finished, they are finished. So we can say one, we can talk about fossil fuels. We can talk about minerals, which can be gold, which can be diamond. They are examples of non-renewable resources. Give one factor that can influence the price of natural resources. The factors that can influence the price of these natural resources, we are saying one, it is because of one, supply and demand is one of the most important factor. Supply and demand. The more the demand, the higher the, the more the demand, the higher the price. It can also be influenced by also quality of resource. Quality of the resource can also affect. It can also be influenced. It can also be influenced by, we can say, location where the natural resource is found. It can also have an influence. It can also be, affected by, which we can say climate, which also defines the natural resources availability depending on what type of natural resources it, climate. And then it can also be political stability. Political stability of the country, of a country, which we say that this has to do with the human influence. So what we are saying is these factors can either make the demand, it can make the prices of these natural resources to be high or low. So location, climate, supply and demand, quality of resource, all are factors that can affect the price of a natural resource. And then describe the term natural resource. We are saying natural resource, it identifies all means available provided by nature to be used as inputs in the production process. All means available uh, that are, we are saying available, or we can say, or provided, which we say they are provided by what? By nature. Nature is providing them so that they can be used. So that they can be used as inputs in the production process. In production process, we define that as a what? As a natural resource. So available resources, available nature, the natural resources that we are identifying or looking at, we are saying they must be used as inputs in the production process. We are making profit out of them, but we exploit them from nature. So therefore, this the beauty of nature that is used in that regard. And then how is scarcity of land? How is scarcity of land related to rent as a fact of production? That is where the question is derived. It is derived from land as a factor of production. So now, uh, how is scarcity of land used as a what? As a natural resource? Is how is the scarcity of land related to rent? So land is scarce, the rent will be higher, and if land is abundant, the rent will be what? Will be lower. That is the concept of scarcity and our demand and supply. So if land is scarce, if land is scarce, if it is not enough, rent will be high. Is scarce, its rent will be high. That is true. And then if land is abundant, and if it is abundant, therefore we say that the rent will be what? The rent will be cheaper. I'm sure you remember the issue of, for some of you who understand also even urban profiling or urban delimitation, you find out that land in cities is expensive because it is scarce, it is on high demand. Everyone wants land in city. So for that reason, we understand and agree that the economic concept that applies there is the concept of scarcity. When a resource is scarce, it tends to attract more demand, and the higher the demand, the higher the price. So at the same time, the principle applies equally well if you are discussing and uh, assessing land as a scarce resource. If it is not enough, the price of rent is high, but if the land is plenty, the rent will be lower. I'm sure these are practical situations and areas of life that most of us we have seen and we have experienced. Uh, Redraw the graph in your answer book and show what will happen to the price of land if there is decrease in demand for land. So what we need to understand is that if there is a decrease in demand for land, what we need to understand is that if there is decrease uh, if there is a decrease in demand for land, it means the price must go down. The price must go down. So what happens is that our demand curve must shift from right to the left. It goes down, as you can see. So in this case, we are saying we have got our rent, we have got our graph. Like we can just quickly draw the graph here, which we can say we have got our rent this side, and then we are saying demand for, we have got our demand for land. So what happens is that we have got our D1, which must be drawn as in like this. Our D1, we can say that our D1 is here. We can say D1 there. And then when the price goes down, it means there is a tendency of decrease in demand. So therefore, we are going to see our D2 coming somewhere below there, which is D2. However, our supply, we are saying our supply was just going to stand at its position, which we can give to say that is our S1, our S1. So now what is happening is that we have got a decrease in price, which we can say our price, I can give it through a dotted line that can identify to say our price was this one, which was R1. I can say our price was R1 here. And then we have got a new price, which is coming because of a decrease in price of land. We have got our R2, R1 and R2. So what we are saying is that there is a shift in demand that has taken place, which I want you to see that it moved, our demand moved from this position. We are saying it moved from there to there. We have got this shift that I want us to not to take note of. That is our shift in terms of demand that is happening. We have got our D1 and we have got D2. So that alone, it identifies the decrease in what? The decrease in demand for land. As the decrease in demand for land happens, the price decreases. Price decreases. That is, price decreases. Price decreases as demand decreases. That is why we're saying there is a shift from D1 to what? To D2. That is what happens in this case of the economic demand and supply curve when this occurs. And then let us quickly go to 2.4, discuss N2 categories of labor. That is the next question. Discuss N2 categories of labor. We say that categories is the classification of labor that we can have. We have got what is called skilled labor. We have what is skilled labor. I'm sure you know skilled labor. We are talking about workers. These are workers who are qualified and experienced in their duties. Workers qualified and experienced in their duties. Workers experienced and qualified in their duties. We can talk about examples such as we can talk about teachers, we can talk about doctors, we can talk about lawyers as examples of this. Those are called skilled laborers or skilled workers. And then we have got what is called semi-skilled. Semi-skilled laborers. These are workers who are not fully qualified and experienced. Workers who are not, they are not fully qualified. They are not fully qualified and experienced. They are not fully qualified and experienced. They just have partial knowledge. They are semi-skilled. And then we have got the last one, which is non-skilled labor. Non-skilled. The non-skilled, we talk about who have no working experience and they are not qualified for any work. Have no work experience, they have no work experience and not qualified for any work. They are not qualified for any work. For that reason, so are mostly known as what? They are known as general, they are known as general workers. They do general work in other ways. They do general work. So we're saying those are non-skilled people. They have not gone to a point of getting a qualification in any trade. They don't have experience. So no skill is actually with them. So we define those as what? As non-skilled. And then how do social services differ from economic services? Social services, how do they differ from economic services? So we are saying social services are supplied by government directly to the community. Those are social services. Social services are they are directly supplied by government. They are directly supplied by government. And actually, these are directly supplied by government to who they are given to households in order to promote community welfare. To promote uh, good welfare. We call this social services. And then these, we can say, these include the various expenses that the government actually incur. These, for example, we are saying they include various expenses which are incurred by government in various services. For example, we can talk about e.g. in security. As an example, we can say the expense in security. We can talk about examples in healthcare. We can talk about education. I'm sure you have heard of free education. And education, we are just giving some of the examples that we have got examples of social services. These are some of the examples of social services that I want us to understand. And then economic services are associated with a fee. Whilst we say, whilst economic services, they are given at a fee, are available at a specific they are available at a specific charge, which we can say that they are actually done in order they are actually offered with a mindset of regulating and operating the economy and business sector more efficiently. Mostly provided, the economic services are mostly provided with the mind of regulating, with the idea of regulating as like controlling, regulating and operating the economy, regulating and operating the economy more efficiently. We define these as economic services. We define them as economic services. So therefore, as you can see, social and economic services, we are talking about the idea of the charges involved in terms of economic services, unlike free of charge or a cost recovery that is done on social services. Quite a lot of times you find out that the prices that the general public pays when we go to these social services is quite less than the value of the service that they receive. So what happens there is that the government is working specifically with the idea that the social services must be readily available to everyone. They must be affordable to every person and they are non-exclusive. Everybody must have access to them in order for the community and the general public to survive well. So we are saying these are defined as what? As social services that we are talking about. Those are social services that we are talking about. And then we have got the first question, name any two types of markets in the secular flow. We're saying two types of markets in the secular flow. We've answered this one several times. We're saying foreign exchange market. We have foreign exchange. We have foreign exchange market as one. We also have the factor. We have the factor or resources market factor, factor or resources, factor or resources market. We have got our resources that need to be traded in the secular flow. We are saying the factors of production must be sold. And then we talk about the product or output market. When goods are produced, they must be sold. The product or output market. And then otherwise, we can also not have to forget the financial market. The financial market, which actually provide with the various financial services or financial support businesses requires. These are various markets that we have in the economy. And then why is the mining industry important in South Africa? Why is mining industry important uh, in South Africa? So now we say that it is actually the most earner of foreign exchange and reserves. It is the biggest, it is the biggest earner. It is the biggest earner of foreign exchange, foreign currency, foreign exchange or reserve. The foreign currency is earned mostly through the sale of minerals. We talk about selling of minerals that are there, which we say that it is one of the most important industry, one of the most important industry in South Africa. And then also because of it also uh, it creates most employment opportunities for our people, employment opportunities that is skilled, there's employment opportunity for skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled people. they get employment in this respect. They get employment. They get employment. So it creates the most it is for its ability or its capacity to provide employment opportunities. We need to not to overlook or take it for granted. We need to look at this cartoon here that is identifying uh, we have got Europe, socialism and capitalism, which are given there. We are given in our cartoon. Those are cartoon portraits that are there. And the question is saying, uh, it says identify any one economic system shown in the cartoon above. We can see that I've shown you that we have got economic system. We have got capitalism that I've already shown you there. Capitalism. We also have socialism. These are shown in our on the cartoon there. These are shown here. They are shown. These are economic systems that are shown in the picture here. Name the economic system that is used in South Africa. We have got a mixed economic system. South Africa used it is a mixed economic system. South Africa uses mixed economic system class. It uses mixed economic system, South Africa. So what we need to understand is that it's a mix of both command and free. We also say that it is mixed economic system. And the next question is saying briefly describe the term capitalism. Uh, that briefly describe the term capitalism. So I was saying when you look into this capitalism, it's a system in which everything is controlled by the market forces, and the government plays a very small or minimal role. So it is an economic system, a system in which market forces defines market forces defines uh, everything. Market forces defines everything, and with a small or minimal government intervention, with minimal control from the what with government with con minimal control or influence from the government. As you can see, market forces is the forces of demand and supply. Demand and supply affects how how the economy operates. It is the concept of supply and demand that actually influences how the economy has to move and respond. So there is minimal influence or control from the government. So we say that is a it is capitalist or capitalism uh, economic system. What role does the government play in centralized planned economy? If the economy is centralized, uh, it actually, the government actually controls everything. It governs. The government, it controls, it manages, it governs everything. Everything is controlled by what? By the government, as you can see. That is what we mean by the government in its centrally planned economic system. And then advantages of mixed economy, that we need to understand. We are saying one, cooperation of private and public sectors ensures maximum use of what? Resources. Cooperation between public and private partnership ensures maximum utilization of resources. It ensures maximum utilization of resources. Private-public partnership, we are saying they join hands in terms of solving matters of interest that are affecting the economy. So resources are effectively utilized because of the partnership that is identified. Because of that, we also have mixed economies are available to attract also capital investment. They help in attraction of capital investment. We are saying investment which create job opportunities is quite high in a mixed economy. For that reason, attraction of of capital investment is quite necessary. Therefore, the economy can perform better. We can also talk about it can also use government. We are saying the public, which is the government, can as well use measures to regulate the market mechanisms. Government can also may also use its own measures, may control activities to regulate, that can be done in order to regulate the market mechanisms. Market mechanisms, we are saying the influences of demand and supply. If the forces are too much, if demand is too much, causing or possibly leading to inflation, the government can intervene and actually avoid systems that can cause that can lead the economy to operate within an inflationary season or period. So we are saying either boosting or regulating or slowing down the economy can be done by government through its own mechanisms that it can put into place in order to avoid such kind of unnecessary exploits. And then it also results in terms of we can give it avoids anti-monopoly practices, help to avoid it actually avoid monopoly practices in the economy. The economy cannot be captured. So what we are saying is it basically helps in terms of establishing greater stability of economic growth and job creation. Stability can be there because we don't have barons, or we cannot have mafias, we cannot have uh, persons who can become in control of market situations or take advantage of monopolization and also exploitation of 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 uh, of the general public. That cannot take place because we are saying that this cannot be done because the government and also the private are working hand in hand in regulating such practices. The question that is given here is a cartoon that is given. Our struggle is to on inequality, poverty leading to malnutrition, hunger, and also crime. We have got Mandela legacy in South Africa, which we are saying they are chained to that, and the chain is being cut. So now, what is the question saying is identify one socio-economic challenge in the cartoon, one socio-economic challenge that we can see in the cartoon. We are saying one socio-economic challenge that is there. We are saying socio-economic is social and economic challenge that we can see. One, we can talk about inequality. That is actually the inequality. Inequality meaning to say that there are gaps that are existing amongst our people. It's a socio-economic challenge. We can talk about poverty. It's a social and economic challenge that we find in our economy. We are saying poverty and inequality, they are there as influences that are caused because of economic and social challenges. One negative consequence of poverty, we are saying that it actually poverty leads to hunger, it leads to malnutrition and crime, which are given there. We are saying one, it leads to crime, it leads to hunger, it leads to malnutrition. Families not having enough, they don't eat balanced diet. So we end up having persons, children dying and individuals suffering from malnutrition, which results in many other related diseases and illnesses that can also be an effect. And then the concept of economic marginalization. Marginalization is actually, we are talking about economic exclusion. It talks about economic exclusion, that is economic marginalization. So now we are saying the concept of economic marginalization, it has to do with exclusion of certain group of people. It has to do with exclusion of certain sections of the population, exclusion of certain segments or individuals in a population, in terms of the economic uh, advantages of the country. Economic benefits, economic benefits of the country. Those are, we say that is exclusion. Specific persons, a specific group of people, specific minority group of people is actually not involved, is segregated in terms of economic benefits or economic enjoyment of the country's resources. We say that is exclusion, that is marginalization. And then suggesting one way in which the problem of inequality can be solved. We can talk about inequality can be solved by one, we can talk about a progressive taxation system can be used to say that you pay as you earn. Use of progressive taxation system. It ensures that the rich can also leave the poor with something. They are not going to be taxed a lot. We talk about maybe provision of free services like education, or free education or learnerships. Provision of free education or learnerships that can also help in terms of improving the lives of people. We can talk about provision of expanded public works, availing expanded work program. These are also there to give employment opportunities to people in certain areas. And then we can talk about encouragement of entrepreneurship. Encouragement of entrepreneurship among its people. Entrepreneurship. People must give or must start businesses so the government can give opportunities or give systems that can encourage and can promote people to start their own businesses. We can also talk about investor-friendly legislation. Investor-friendly legislation. Investor-friendly legislation that will attract, we are saying, for foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment can also help. Foreign direct investment, it has to be there, which we say that foreign direct investment, it is very necessary in order uh, for inequalities to be mitigated. And then we have got quite a lot of many other systems that can be done, like I talk about fair distribution of national income. We talk about these direct transfers that are given to our people. They are given as a mechanism to ensure that those who don't have can also have. We talk about the SASAP monies and all other direct transfers that the government is putting in place. So, question next: how can human resources be targeted to be more effective in solving problems above? Uh, we say in terms of solving the problems above, what can be done here? It has to do, it can to do with, uh, we can talk about focusing on manufacturing that can use labor intensive production, focus on manufacturing. We are saying employing manufacturing intensive systems in industries. What happens is that they can help in terms of it can help in terms of creation of employment for people. And then we can also talk about partnerships, public-private partnerships, public-private partnerships. This actually helps in terms of it actually helps in accommodation of semi-skilled to accommodate uh, semi and unskilled labor force. Unskilled labor force can be assisted because we say that public-private partnership, it creates employment for both categories of people. And then we also emphasize more on education, emphasize and investment strongly in education by the government can actually invest strongly in education, so that can help in terms of such problems that we are talking about. This can be helped because we are saying free education, government subsidies, government learnerships, government support structures, and apprentice every other ways that education can be a priority helps in terms of solving problems to do with inequalities that we are talking about. And then differentiate between economic and free goods. Economic and free goods, we are saying that economic and free goods. So economic goods, they actually, we are saying economic goods, economic goods, they command the price. They command prices, they have usage value and exchange value. With usage and exchange value. With usage and exchange value. So we can say these actually can measure wealth in terms of people. They can be used to measure the wealth of people. We are saying possession measurement. We can say possession measure wealth. We can talk about computers. We can talk about houses. So they are uh, possessions that measure wealth of people. So what happens again is that they try to classify people. E.g., we can talk about housing. We can talk about cars. We can talk about TV sizes. All those are examples of economic goods. And we can say, and free goods, they do not command prices. Do not command. They do not command prices. So what happens is that they have usage value but no exchange value. They do have usage value but no command value, but no exchange value. We say these are free goods. So we can give examples such as we are saying they are available, e.g. we can talk about natural resources. This can be the sun, or we can say the air. These are called free goods. We get them free of charge. They have got usage value, but they don't have exchange value. Nobody can buy the air that we breathe, the sun that we use for sunbathing and whatsoever. We say that they do not have exchange value. These are free goods. they don't have command prices. They are free goods. They do not have, or they do not command prices. We have got usage value for them actually, however, no exchange value. And then the last question says, evaluate government's positive involvement in increasing access to economic opportunities. Government's positive involvement in increasing access. How is the government involved positively working towards in increasing access to economic opportunities? That's the question. That's what the question is saying. So it has to do with one, introducing policies that to promote new opportunities for increased level of what participation of Black people in ownership. That ownership of what of resources and properties. We are saying introduction of policies that actually promote new opportunities. They promote new opportunities, which we are saying for an increased level of participation of Black people. The participation of Black people in ownership of resources or properties. We talk about economic resources. That is one positive involvement the government has to do with decentralization of economic activities. Decentralization of economic activities. Which is to previously disadvantaged areas. We are saying previously disadvantaged areas, they must be, they have to have also access. This is through, for example, regional development programs. I'm sure you have heard of the economic development zones, which we are saying they are done or they were put in place as an initiative towards improvement of marginalized or previously disadvantaged areas. So corridors of development were set in place in order to promote and sustain those previously disadvantaged areas. And then we talk about provision of free education to increase qualification of disadvantaged individuals. Provision of free education to uplift and support disadvantaged individuals. I'm sure you know that NSFAS is given. The reasons of that is actually provisioned in order to support people who have no access or who cannot afford to go to school. So now we are saying those who are earning certain income in a family are excluded from that. So it is a precision set in place in order to ensure that there is equal access and equal upliftment of our people as in general in terms of the population as a whole. So we can also talk about removing of illegal restrictions that also block the entry of Black people into a mainstream economy. It can also help. removal. We are saying removal of legal restrictions, restrictions that actually blocks black people into entry to mainstream black people into mainstream economy. There are some principles and practices that were put in place which naturally disturb or which actually tries to avoid and exclude black people into access of some mainstream or main economic activities that are taking or that are happening within the country. So if those are removed, it can also help in terms of the government improvement in access to economic opportunities. Maybe last but not least, I can say that we can talk about improvement in the provision of infrastructure in poor areas. Improvement in infrastructure in poor areas. That can also help in terms of that upliftment that we are talking about. It can also help in that respect. So as you can see, we can accept every system that can also uh, provision access to ownership of resources and access to wealth that has not been there previously. So we can say that there is a positive involvement. So it has to do with we are saying betterment of lives and opportunities in this case. Those opportunities must be improved by what? By positive involvement by the government. So therefore, what we say is that the government basically has to take into account some of these points that are listed here. Decentralization of economic activities. We talk about the provision of free education to the disadvantaged families and individuals, removal of legal restrictions. We are saying these are legal because they were mechanized, or there were many made situations or systems that tries to avoid or limit the access of black people to mainstream economic functions, and then infrastructural development in poor areas. All these are positive involvement by government in increasing access to economic opportunities. So in terms of this, please class, thank you so much for your time, and keep connected to Metric Hub. I'm telling you right now that you being available and you being connected to Metric Hub right now until grade 12, we have got a better story to tell, and your life will never be the same. Let's not miss NSFAS opportunities. Connect now and enjoy these things that we are talking about. Economic opportunities, wealth creation functions in the economy are available to those who can connect. Let's have this opportunity now. Let's use this provision now until we meet again. Keep on following Metric Hub. It is there for you. We are here to walk the journey with you and simplify everything. All the best until we meet again. Let's say it is well. Thank you.